Batman the Animated Series is considered to be, hands down, the best Batman cartoon ever. According to IMDb, it's one of the greatest television series of all time. But when interest in the DC superhero started to wane, probably due to the terrible film adaptations at the time, Warner Brothers knew they had to do something drastic with the iconic character. Enter Batman Beyond. The series takes place in the future and revolves around an elderly, retired Bruce Wayne mentoring a teenager called Terry McGinnis as the new Batman. Amazingly, Batman Beyond did not suck. In fact, it was awesome. But because Batman the Animated Series is hailed as a masterpiece, Batman Beyond has been left in its shadow. It obviously deserves far more recognition, as anyone who watched the show will confirm, as the creative team clearly put in 110% to do justice to Batman's legacy. And not all that effort is obvious on a first glance. In fact, there's a whole host of things fans may not know about the series. Here are the coolest ones of all. I'm Will for What Culture, and here are 10 mind-blowing facts you didn't know about Batman Beyond. 10. The show broke ground in how it depicted gun violence. In the late 1990s, politicians were emphasizing that violence in cartoons had gone too far, which caused heavy censorship in the animated shows of the time. This was a serious problem when Batman Beyond was greenlit since, there was a gun in the opening scene. In the pilot episode, Bruce Wayne is patrolling the city as Batman when he has a heart attack. As a group of thugs are about to kill him, he grabs a gun and points it at the criminals, scaring them away. Bruce swore he would never hold a gun after one took his parents' life, and so, in this moment, he feels like he's failed. This is the reason why he retires as Batman. Although the censor board were very strict with gun violence, the Batman Beyond team were able to convince them to keep this scene in, as it was integral to set the entire story into motion. As a result, Batman Beyond became the first Saturday morning cartoon to show a gun pointing towards a camera, which was actually a pretty big deal at the time. 9. The lead actor had never done voice acting before. Will Friedle provides the voice of the lead character Terry McGinnis in Batman Beyond. Reception on his performance was so positive, he managed to carve out a very successful career as a voice actor. In the last 20 years, he's worked on nearly 100 cartoons, including Thundercats, Transformers, Avengers Assemble, and Ultimate Spider-Man. He's been lucky enough to play several other iconic DC characters, including Kid Flash, Lex Luthor, and Nightwing. The craziest thing about Friedle's success is that he never performed voice acting before he auditioned for Batman Beyond. Before working on the series, he was mainly known for playing Eric Matthews on the show Boy Meets World for 7 years. Despite his lack of experience, Friedle was cast for Batman Beyond since he had the exact qualities needed for the lead character. Interestingly, Kevin Conroy, who provided the voice of Batman in Batman the Animated Series, also had no voiceover background before starting on the show. Talk about fate, or what? 8. Huntress was meant to appear. Despite the fact that Batman Beyond ran for 52 episodes, the iconic sidekick Robin was nowhere to be seen. This might be because viewers weren't a big fan of the boy wonder in Batman and Robin. However, the studio still wanted Batman to have a sidekick, but only if she was female. Batgirl was the obvious choice, but the producers wanted to use a character that hadn't been yet adapted from the comics, and so opted for Helena Bertinelli. In the comics, after a group of gangsters murdered her parents, Bertinelli dedicated her life to destroy all crime in the city. She even briefly worked as Batgirl but had a falling out with Batman, causing her to take up a new alias, Huntress. Huntress and McGinnis seemed like a perfect fit. Considering Terry tries to uncover corporate corruption and Huntress works in the seedy underbelly of the city, they seemed like a match made in heaven. Since Huntress is the daughter of Bruce Wayne and Catwoman in some timelines, her inclusion in the show could have revealed a secret side of Bruce's past, creating conflict between the characters. Sadly, the writers never figured out how to incorporate her into the story, leaving it until Justice League Unlimited to give the character her full animated debut. And to be fair, JLU did a damn fine job. 7. Before Batman Begins, WB nearly made a live-action Batman Beyond film. Here's a hot take straight from the mind of Will from What Culture, but the Batman and Robin film was not very good. I know, finally someone was brave enough to say it, and that someone was me. However, the producers were insane enough to think that the movie would be successful, and so they prepared a sequel where the title character would battle the Scarecrow and Harley Quinn. When Batman and Robin was released and producers realized that it was, in a nutshell, the worst thing ever, they scrambled to find another way to adapt the Caped Crusader. In 2000, the studio aimed to create a live-action adaptation of Batman Beyond. Because the show just came out the year before and was fresh in everyone's mind, a live-action version seemed like the next logical step. Then things got a bit muddled and they wanted to try their hand at Batman Year One instead, and then that idea fell through and we wound out with the pretty excellent Batman Begins. However, if the Batman Beyond film was given the go-ahead, it was rumored that Michael Keaton would return as an elderly Bruce Wayne, which would have been awesome. 6. The show spawned a spin-off. In Season 2 of Batman Beyond, Terry McGinnis learns that one of his teachers has been replaced with a shape-shifting assassin robot called Zeta. When Terry confronts Zeta, the robot explains that he was designed by the NSA to assassinate specific targets. When Zeta learned one of his targets had committed no crimes, he refused to ever kill again. Since he disobeyed his orders, Zeta had to go on the run while the NSA hunted him down. After only appearing in one episode, the character became so popular, the studio created a spin-off the following year called The Zeta Project. Instead of being a carbon copy of Batman Beyond, the show drew inspiration from the Harrison Ford film The Fugitive, since the lead character is constantly on the run. Sadly, The Zeta Project was cancelled due to poor ratings, forcing the show to end on a cliffhanger. 5. Buffy the Vampire Slayer was a big inspiration. The first season of Batman Beyond mainly focuses on Terry trying to expose a corrupt businessman after he takes over Bruce Wayne's corporation and has Terry's father killed. But remember, this is a show for kids. The producers believed that children weren't interested in watching Batman fighting corrupt corporations. What did kids want to see? Teenage hijinks. As a result, executives ordered the writing team to insert more high school drama. Because, as we all know, that's what Batman has really been missing all these years. This sounds like a typical decision made by executives who don't have a clue what makes The Dark Knight special. Luckily, the writers tried their best to make it work. They looked at other shows that revolved around teenagers to get a sense of how they acted and spoke. When the crew watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer, they were blown away by the quippy banter by the high school characters and decided to implement that element into Batman Beyond. Amazingly, the idea worked, as it made the 16-year-old Terry come across as a real person rather than your generic superhero. 4. Damian Wayne trained Terry McGinnis in the comics. Because Batman Beyond was an instant hit, DC made an official comic series of Batman Beyond, which has been relaunched many times. For years, these stories took place in the DC animated universe, so this version of Batman never interacted with the main DC continuity. Terry McGinnis didn't officially appear in the DCU until Batman 700 in 2010. In this story, Bruce Wayne has seemingly died, forcing his son, Damian, to take on the mantle of Batman, and he meets Terry during a confrontation with a villain called Two-Face 2. As Damian grows old, he is forced to retire, allowing Terry to become the new protector of Gotham. Damian takes the role of Terry's mentor, just like how Bruce Wayne did in the Batman Beyond show. Although, since the DC rebirth, this is technically not canon. Comics, am I right? Also, if you're wondering what happened to the other Robin, Dick Grayson, he also shows up in the comic Future, complete with an eye patch, looking suspiciously similar to Nick Fury from Marvel. 3. DARWYN Cooke created the series' iconic intro. DARWYN Cooke was one of the most influential comic book writers and artists during the 90s and 2000s. He won over 15 Eisner Awards and was nominated for an Emmy for the adaptation of DC: The New Frontier. As Cooke gained a reputation for his art, he was asked to storyboard several episodes of Batman the Animated Series. The creators of the show were so impressed with his work, he was hired to design the title sequence for Batman Beyond. The way the intro was made was very different to other cartoons at the time. In most animation, the scene is drawn out and then the music is inserted afterwards. Cooke opted to listen to the intro music so he could animate the visuals to match the beat, making the character's movements much more fluid and dynamic. Sadly, Cooke died of cancer in 2016 at the age of 53. One of his final works was a 1-minute short of Terry McGinnis and Bruce Wayne teaming up to fight an army of evil Batman robots. He created the animation to celebrate Batman's 75th anniversary. 2. A cancelled storyline would have seen Superman's son rule Apokolips. Several stories were written for Batman Beyond, but never made it into the show. There are many reasons why this can happen. Maybe the story's tone clashed with the series, maybe the show was cancelled before the story was implemented, or maybe the idea was just too weird. One script had Terry teaming up with the Justice League to battle an alien from the planet Apokolips, the home of Superman's nemesis, Darkseid. Terry would learn that the invader from Apokolips is actually the son of Superman. When the Man of Steel ventured into Darkseid's homeworld years ago, he was brainwashed and turned into a slave. While under Darkseid's control, Superman had a child with the female Fury Lashania. After the boy conquered Apokolips, he vowed to conquer his father's former home, Earth. If you think that idea is crazy, brace yourself. When Batman Beyond was about to be cancelled, one of the writers pitched a reboot of the show where Terry and his family moved to Mars. Why? I don't know. Maybe the weather. It's unknown exactly what the story would entail, but it would have had a lighter tone than Batman Beyond. 1. Catwoman was meant to be revealed as Terry McGinnis's mother. Batman Beyond Return of the Joker was supposed to have a sequel, which would have had Selina Kyle, aka Catwoman, as the main villain. In this doomed follow-up, Selina had become the CEO of a genetic corporation. The company invented a cloning machine, which Selina uses to create an army of Batman clones to do her bidding. When Terry McGinnis attempts to end her reign of terror, he learns that Selina is his mother. Bum bum bum! Just in case one twist wasn't enough, Terry discovers that he is a clone of Bruce Wayne as well. On top of that, Bruce Wayne knew this for years, but chose not to tell Terry, believing that he deserved to forge his own legacy. However, since the previous film didn't sell well on DVD, the sequel was cancelled, but elements of this story were reworked into the show, Justice League Unlimited. In the episode Epilogue, Terry learns that he was created by Amanda Waller from the DNA of Bruce Wayne so he could become the next protector of Gotham. It was meant to serve as the end of the DC animated universe, but then Unlimited was renewed for another year, giving fans 2 great conclusions in the space of 2 seasons. And there you have it, folks, 10 mind-blowing facts you didn't know about Batman Beyond. Feel free to drop this video a like if you enjoyed it, and drop me a follow on Twitter at @USlyDarwU. I'm Will for What Culture, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you next time.